This is Local Edition. I'm Brad Pomerance. We're joined by Hyepin Im. She is the president and founder of the Korean Churches for Community Development Organization. And we're looking back at 25 years after, we'll call them the Rodney King riots. I was around in Los Angeles in 1992, as were you. Let's reflect on that day.
Sure.
Tell me about that day for you in 1992.
Well, I was a USC MBA student, and as a Korean single, I would hang out at Koreatown.
Of course you would.
And I was also interning at Toshiba, and it was very surreal to see a place where it was your own, background. I mean,
Backyard,
backyard
yeah.
playground, and for the next day to see it as a war zone and to feel scared to enter into that space was a very surreal experience.
I remember driving up the 10 freeway. I had been a lawyer back then, and I was working downtown, and driving up the 10 freeway west, and just seeing burning buildings on both sides of the freeway. At the time, I was not aware that most of those burning buildings were in Koreatown. At the time, I'll be honest, I wasn't even aware that there were festering tensions between African Americans and Asian Korean Americans.
Yes.
But I learned about it.
And you know what? I want to talk on that point. Even for myself as a Korean American,
Right.
I had never heard of the
Right.
Black-Korean conflict.
Right.
And I think it's really sad and a disservice to both communities and to all communities that the media really helped to flame that fire. Definitely there was that Latasha Harlan case. It was one store owner with one customer. And to have it be superimposed, I think was really not right. There is definitely pains in both communities for these store owners. They're working very long hours in a very precarious environment.
And that day is known in Korean as
Sa'igu.
Yeah, Sa'igu. I've heard that. What does that mean, Sa'igu?
So just as we named 9/11 by the actual date of the event, Sa'igu in Korean language means 4/9 or April 29th, the day that the riots erupted.
And when the Korean American community today looks back at Sa'igu, what are they feeling? Are they feeling a sense of despair? Are they feeling a sense of optimism?
Well, I think
both?
I would say pain.
Oh, really?
And it's in some ways the pain to the point where people want to suppress it.
Really?
Because to this day, out of the $1 billion in property damage, over 40% were incurred by Koreans. Over 2,000 businesses were destroyed. And yet to this day, instead of being treated as victims, we are treated in many ways as perpetrators or predators.
Still?
Still. And so that's where, in terms of for the Korean community, when and as they articulate their stories, a lot of times there is no political covering. Maybe there isn't that much still to this day. Particularly, I would say, our relationship in all communities. I mean, I'm a second generation, 1.5. We've come of age. We're in place of influence. We're fluent in English. We know people. So in that way, across all communities, our relationship has improved. Our power and voice has improved.
And I think about, I don't mean to interrupt, but I think about Koreatown today. I mean, it is bustling. You have folks from the entire Los Angeles region. Koreatown's hip. And not just hip for, like you said, you were a Korean American in 1982, you would go there. I would not have gone there in 1992. Now my kids are dragging me there to go to all these great places. David Ruiz, the new council person. I mean, that was a wonderful victory for the Korean community. So, look,
so there's a lot of hope.
But again, is that just a facade that, my teenagers are dragging me to Koreatown, we happen to have gotten a Korean American elected to the LA City Council? I don't know.
So there's a lot of great things that's mentioned. I think K-Wave, K-pop,
exactly.
We've become sexy and hip,
It's but it's true
But
in
if
some
you
ways.
actually look beneath the surface, especially with the model minority myth, it really hurts our community.
Okay, so let's talk about that. This is a fascinating conversation because there is no doubt that I shouldn't say most, there are a number of Angelenos that just presume that if you're Asian American, you're Korean American, you're smart and you're successful.
Yes.
Done.
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 Yes.
That's a myth.
That is a myth. And
Talk to me about the myth.
Sure. So Koreans have the highest language barrier.
Really?
Period, right? And so if you think about that, their ability to have jobs that pay well is limited. And so if you look at the home ownership rate in LA County for Koreans, it's the lowest of any group.
Really?
Yes. If you look at total assets, it's the lowest of any group. And so when store owners decide to buy, or I'm sorry, people want to buy businesses, you know, what little money that they save, where can they buy those businesses? It's not Century City,
right.
Beverly Hills, right?
It's more challenged economically communities.
Exactly. And so for many Korean Americans, they're struggling. And you'll look at all, even for the high education rate, not just Koreans, Asians, we shoot through the roof in terms of educational attainment of any group. But if you look at promotion in the job, it is the lowest.
And I think part of it, and you basically hinted at it, Asian American includes Chinese Americans, Japanese Americans, Korean Americans, Thai Americans, Vietnamese Americans, and each group is distinct.
That's right.
But we just lump it all together, and they're all smart and they're all successful.
That's right.
And each group, like you said, has its own challenges. Korean Americans with home ownership, with saving, whatever it may be.
Yes. And again, even for Koreans, we do have the third highest level of education. So we are smart.
Amongst
supposedly
Asian American groups? Or
no, of all groups.
Of all groups.
However, because of the language barrier, that's one reason it doesn't translate. But there's all kinds of other discrimination that we face as many other communities. We're in the same boat, whether it's housing discrimination, rental discrimination, criminal justice system.
And I'm wondering, with tensions increasing between America and North Korea, is that causing challenges for Korean Americans? Because look, I would presume most Korean Americans living in the LA area are South Korean.
Yes.
But people don't make that distinction. No, you know, it's like Sikhs and Muslims. They're all, you know, people assume they're the same when they're not. And so is that causing challenges?
And you know what? Even for the North Koreans here, they want peace on the
if they're here,
they want peace in the Korean Peninsula. And I think even for the North Korean people, they want peace. They want piece of the American dream, whatever that means. It doesn't have to be American dream, but of a great life for your children, access to all that.
But I just am concerned, I just thought of this, that if tensions continue to rise, will Korean Americans start to get some pushback? Like when we were kids and there was the hostage crisis in Iran, I remember the Iranian kids in school were being punished by kids because they didn't realize.
I'm very concerned in terms of this current political environment that has unleashed people's ability to express whatever hatred that they may have been below the surface. But definitely, I would say the sentiments, not just on North Korea, but China and all those things impact.
People don't make distinctions.
They don't make distinctions. But again, I think people need to remember that we're all in it together. I think there's a famous saying, you know, they came after the Jews, they came, you know, they came after all these people. And we didn't respond, but finally they came after me, and there was no one to defend us. We're all there together.
It's a very touching quote, and I know well. And that quote was by a Christian pastor. It was not by someone who was a victim of the Holocaust. So I appreciate you bringing that up, and I appreciate you talking to us about this 25th commemoration of Saigu. And thank you. Please stay in touch.
Thank you.
Her name is Hyepin Im. She is the president and founder of the Korean Churches for Community Development Organization. My name is Brad Pomerance. Thank you so much for joining us on Local Edition.